Welcome to the 2017 Monroe Political Candidate Forum. I serve as the Walton County Chamber of Commerce on the Walton County Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, and I'm chairman for the Governmental Affairs Committee. Excuse me. I don't live in the city of Monroe, therefore I'm not going to vote, and that's why I was chosen to moderate tonight. Tonight we'll hear from three candidates running for mayor: John Howard, Sandra Sherling, and Greg Thompson. We'll also hear from council member candidates for District 3 and District 8. From District 3, Leon Boyce will not be here tonight, Ross Bradley, and Adrian Brown. From District 8, we have David Dickinson. Lydia Garrett will not be here tonight, and Jimmy Richardson, who's the incumbent. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to give their introductions. After introductions, we will have a total of 7 questions, alternating who answers the questions first. Each candidate will answer all questions and will have 1 minute for their answers. After we conclude with questions, each candidate will give a 2-minute closing. This is a forum only and not a debate. If you need to rebut anything said, you can use your time in closing remarks to do so. Carrie Rose is going to be our timekeeper tonight. Candidates, when you see her hold up the 30 sign, you have 30 seconds left, and when she holds up the 0 sign, excuse me, please finish your sentence and your time will be done. We will follow the program order, beginning with the candidates for mayor, followed by District 3 and then District 8 candidates. Again, you have 3 minutes for your introductions. Mayoral candidate John Howard.
Thank you, Ms. Shanahan. Thank you to the Chamber and to the City of Monroe for allowing us to have this conversation tonight. I really appreciate all of you taking an interest in helping our town move forward. My name's John Howard. I'm running for mayor. To give you a little background, many of you know me. I see a lot of friends out here, and it kind of makes this a little bit easier. I've condensed my introduction from 17 minutes probably to about 45 seconds, so I'll be real quick. My grandfather was a sheriff of Walton County for 28 years. His name was Lewis Howard. My father grew up living in the county jail right over behind the post office. I've been living here since, let's say, 1 to 19. I moved away for about 10 years and have been back for the last 10 right here on Walton Street. I've been on the Planning Commission for the City of Monroe for the last 6 or 7 years, and that has been the capacity of which I've been chosen to serve. Now, the 10 years that I was gone, I was with a community development called Lakewood Ranch. It's a master planned community on the Sarasota and Manatee County line in Florida. It's right a quarter mile to the east of I-75. It runs about 3.5 miles in one direction, 6 miles south, and 3.5 miles further in that direction as well. So it encompasses about 28,000 total acres. From the time that I was there, we went from 50 homes to 2,000. We brought in 2 Publix grocery stores. We brought in 2 Arnold Palmer designed golf courses. We had a downtown development. We had an industrial development and a light industrial development. My job has been to build community. So when it comes to experience, there's nobody up here who can compare. The total experience that I've built community working with huge budgets is quite a bit more daunting than what we're dealing with here. However, I'm here to serve you. I'm here because I love this town. I'm here because I want to see this town succeed, and I want to see this town succeed not only for me, but for you, but for all of our children. We have our work cut out for us. We have an issue that's really facing us right now. It's traffic and congestion. We are not working with our county leaders for anything. There's no communication there, and I think we really should, because together everyone achieves more. That's what teamwork is. And you put our county, our city, our state together with our Department of Transportation, and we're going to get some stuff done. Again, I'm John Howard. I appreciate your coming tonight. I'm running for mayor. Thank you.
Mayoral candidate Sandra Sherling.
Good evening, everyone. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here. It's really great to see this many people come out in the community and come together and have this much interest in voting, which is really exciting to see. Our elections tend to be small, and it's great to see this many voters out. I am Sandra Sherling. I am not from Monroe. I moved here 15 years ago and have been very involved in the community since I moved here 15 years ago. I served on the Monroe Library Committee for 14 years and was chair for about probably 8 of those 10 years. If you have not been over to our local library recently, I was in charge of, along with the Uncle Remus directors, in doubling the size of our library under the existing roof line. So if you have not been over there, please go over there and take a look at how beautiful our library is. Our library is vital to our community in helping people come in and apply for jobs. So I've been a large part of the library, so I feel like I've been a large part of the community. Since I've moved here, I've also owned 2 small businesses. I now currently own a brokerage in a building that we've rehabbed downtown Monroe. We used a downtown development revolving loan fund that we worked with the city, with Greg, with the city and with the state to obtain that loan and to rehab the building that my current business is in. I have served as a Walton County Chamber Ambassador, which I currently am. So we've just been very involved in the community since the day that we came here. I really enjoyed this community. My criteria for a community was that I needed to be in a historic home and I needed to be walking distance to the downtown. I want to see our downtown thrive and continue to grow. And I'd like to do that through working with everyone in the community, as well as looking forward towards our children who will be the future and the growth of our community. I am Walton Proud certified, work in the school systems. Once a year we go out to all the private and public schools and work with the kids. I've enjoyed that a great deal. Recently worked in Walnut Grove with the kids, the seniors that are about to graduate, teaching them that yes, there are good jobs in our community and that we really want them in those good jobs. So again, I can't think of all the things that I'm totally involved in, but I have been involved in this town since we moved here. It's meant a lot to me. The people of this town mean a lot to me. I've appreciated how welcomed I've been in this town and want to continue to see this town thrive and move forward. So again, I'm Sandra Shirley, running for mayor, and would love to have your support. And thank you all again for coming.
Mayoral candidate Greg Thompson.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Chamber for putting this event on. My name's Greg Thompson. I was born and raised in the city of Monroe. My wife's here tonight, Renee, and I have one son, Michael, who's 26, who lives in Milledgeville, Georgia. I'm a member of the First Baptist Church where I sing in the 8:30 praise band service. I sit on the Walton County Board of Health, which I'm the vice chair of. I also serve as the chairman of the board of the Municipal Electric Authority of Georgia, where the city of Monroe gets their electricity from. I own John's Supermarket, which is a downtown business. It's been in business for 52 years, and I've owned it for 27 years. I've served the city for 18 years in 2 different capacities. I've served 6 years on the city council, and I've also served 12 years as mayor. My first campaign promise when I was elected my first year was to keep our downtown strong and keep it alive. So many small towns kind of dry up when you have the big box stores move on the outside. So me, along with the council, dedicated money to jumpstart our DDA, and 12 years later, you see where it's at now. We have thousands of people coming downtown for concerts and hundreds of people all year long enjoying the programs that the Downtown Development Authority has. Since the year 2000, we've gotten in $10 million worth of federal and state grants, which helps keep our taxes low so we can rehab our sewer and we rehab our water systems and other projects. And also for the last 4 years, we've been able to roll back our millage rate, which keeps our property taxes low, which tells me that our city is growing. You know, we went through a downturn about 9 years ago, and now we're seeing the groundwork that we worked on 9 years ago starting to come to fruition. Got a couple of projects coming up that we're proud of. We have 2 aggressive sidewalk projects coming up, one starting in the center of downtown, going all the way out to Paradise Shops, which will hook up to Walmart, where citizens can walk to and from so they can shop. We have our truck bypass, which land acquisition starts at the end of this year through 18, and then the construction actually will start 2019, 2020. Also coming to the council within the next 6 months, we have 3 huge residential projects coming that'll bring us about 500 new homes in the city of Monroe, which will then get us our big grocery store that we've been fighting for about 4 years. But we just hadn't had the residents in here in the type houses that we need. Now we should have them. so we can continue those projects. And that's just some of the things that the council's been working on. I certainly appreciate the support that I've had from you guys for the last 12 years. Thank you very much.
We'll now move to introductions for District 3 candidates. District 3 candidate Ross Bradley.
Thank you, Ms. Shanahan. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ross Bradley. I am running for District 3 City Council. While I was not born and raised here in Monroe, I did spend the better half of my adolescence going to George Walton Academy. Upon graduation, moved out to the University of Mississippi, where I finished up with a degree in business management. Met my lovely wife, Hollis, and once we graduated, knew that we needed to find somewhere to raise a family. Chose to move back here to Monroe. It holds all the qualities that we were looking for in a small downtown, both being from small downtowns ourselves. Since being back in town, my business partner, Andrew, and I have opened up 2 Your Pie franchises that are some of the top stores in the nation. The reason why we've got there is because of the way our parents raised us with phenomenal leadership skills and just with a heart for people. That's something my parents instilled in me a long time ago, was a servant's heart, and something I plan to bring to this community and to this city council. In my time here, I joined the Boys and Girls Club on the advisory board. We've done a lot of great things inside the club, bringing it back out of the dark and into the light. Recently was appointed as the co-chair for the Boys and Girls Club. And again, as a kid, my parents always taught me to listen and to learn and to do. And so I've adopted that as my campaign statement, not only just for District 3, but as an example for the rest of the city. I would love to work alongside all the great folks here in the city and continue to help the city grow and become something great. Thank you all very much.
District 3 candidate Adrian Brown.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adrian Brown, and I am running for Monroe City Council District 3. I was not born and raised in Monroe. I was born and raised in Vicksburg, Mississippi, which is a very small town outside of I-20 in Mississippi right before you pass into Louisiana. So I'm used to being in a small town. I love Monroe. I moved here in 2009 and started actually really loving this particular city. It embraced me. The people here embraced me, and I actually love it. Because I've been doing a lot of community work and a lot of community activism in this town, I've decided to run for city council and bring my skills to the council. I've worked in the mortgage industry for the past 15 years, and I had a vast knowledge of budgeting and finance. I assisted a lot of people with home ownership, and during the downturn, I was able to assist a lot of people with actually saving their homes. So I did fight against unlawful foreclosures in Atlanta. I picketed, almost went to jail a couple of times doing that, and so I'm really a community activist. I wrote a lot of articles about the foreclosures. I've done a lot of media coverage. I worked for WXAG radio station in Athens for a couple of years where I did a community program, and it was based on community and empowerment. So I was able to reach a lot of people there and talk to them about home ownership, how to survive out of poverty, and tackle some of the problems that they have there. I came to Monroe fleeing from domestic violence in Stone Mountain, and I found a safe haven here. So therefore, I reached out to other young women that were victims of domestic violence and started working for a shelter, taught them how to actually transition back into society as far as home ownership, being able to budget, parenting skills, life skills, and different things like that to get themselves together. Currently, I work for Live Forward. We're a nonprofit agency that supplies counseling and housing to those that are infected or affected with HIV and AIDS. I took the organization from a $300,000 budget to a $1.4 million budget in less than 2 years. I feel like I have the skills and the qualifications in order to make this city great and to bring some things here, and I look forward to serving you.
And last, our introductions for District 8 candidates. David Dickinson.
Is it okay if I stand up? Can you hear me? All right, can I come out there?
TV might not catch it. TV might not catch it.
Be different.
All right, this is better. I'm a lawyer by training, and so I'm used to doing it this way where I get out and see people and actually talk to them. So let me tell you a little bit about me. I came to Washington County in 1978 when I was still a young man to work with the Washington County Juvenile Court. And I never, I'd driven through Washington County, but I didn't really know anything about Monroe and Washington County. And the reason I decided to come here was to take that job, and my lovely wife, Dr. Rita, had worked in Monroe for DFAX a couple of years before that, and so she said, oh, Monroe's a fine place, let's go there, build our careers, build our family. And we moved into town over on Church Street in 1981 into one of those historic houses. We restored several of them on that street. We've lived there ever since. And I reckon we'll live there until we die. So, we've raised 3 children in this community. Alexis, Mariah, Sarah. Alexis and Sarah work for the school system here.
Mr. Dickinson, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're not being recorded by the video equipment. You need to be in front of a mic. So if you want to take this mic. I apologize.
Sorry about that, folks. All right. So anyway, all of my children live in this community, work in this community. Rita and I now have 6 grandchildren in this community. Some of them are here tonight. People have asked me, well, gee, David, at this point, why do you want to go back into politics? Why do you want to do this? And I want to tell you something very deep and personal about that. There are 3 things that are very fundamentally important to me. The first is faith. The second is family. The third is my friends in this community. And my faith informs me that it's not enough to be a believer. If you're going to be a follower, you've got to be a disciple. That means you have to go out and you have to help other people and you have to make the world a better place. Plain and simple. My family, I want to see my grandchildren grow up in this community and achieve everything that they're capable of achieving, the same as I want that for every child in this community. Someone said earlier, I think Ross, talking about the Boys and Girls Club. I was one of the founding members of that organization in this city. I believe deeply in children. I believe deeply in helping a community. When I was mayor here several years ago, we put in place a lot of the things that you're just now seeing come to fruition. I wish I had 15 or 20 minutes to talk to you about this. I don't. So I hope we get some good questions. I appreciate everybody being here. These are all good, fine people who want nothing but to serve their community. So we appreciate every one of you being out here, and I hope to talk to some of you after the formal part. Thank you.
District 8 candidate Jimmy Richardson.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Jimmy Richardson. I was born and raised here in Monroe. Plan on retiring here. I'm married, got 3 children. I've raised a family here. I've worked here. Graduated from Monroe Area High School. Went to the University of Georgia. Majored in business management. Graduated from University of Georgia. I know most of the people in this room, and I grew up here. This is a wonderful place to raise a family, and I'd like to see it continue being a wonderful place to raise a family. I've had dealings with most people in this room. My family still works here. My wife works at Carmichael's out here with Wanda Hickman. My sister, Donna Buckner, she's sitting in the audience. You know, I appreciate the county, Kevin Little and Kirkland Dixon being here, because we've got a working relationship with the county that we're working hard with. And we're working hard on getting a grocery store. I worked for Winn-Dixie in Monroe for 27 years. I was a store manager here. So we'd love to have a grocery store. You know, I want to see the right growth. I want to keep the traffic under control. We've talked about traffic. We've talked about housing. You know, we're working on housing, having the right kind of housing. And so, you know, I'd appreciate your support getting reelected. My door is always open. My cell phone's always on. You know, if you have a question for me, you know, call me anytime. And I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you all for your introductions. We'll now move to the questions at this time. There were 13 questions submitted. I will draw a question from the basket and ask you to answer the questions in the same order as your introductions, and then the person answering the first question will rotate. So the first question, John Howard will answer. The second question, Sandra Sherling will answer. And then the third question, Greg Thompson will answer first, and so on. There will be a total of 7 questions. All of you will answer every question, and again, you have 1 minute to answer. They can stand up during their closing, or while they're speaking, you mean? I think there's an issue with the equipment picking up the microphone.
It's being recorded live from the room back here, and so if they're not speaking into the microphone, they won't hear them on TV. Mr. Richardson goes, I don't know if it's him or not.
Terry, I can just pass this microphone. All right, the first question, John Howard will answer first. Monroe is projected to grow dramatically over the next 10 years. Where do you think new housing, businesses, industry, et cetera, should go in the city?
Thank you so much for your question. And thank you. I was taught that I'm always supposed to stand when speaking to an audience, but I was also told that I needed to use this. So I was getting as close as I could. I appreciate you getting up, David. Where do I expect houses and businesses to go? I'm sorry, could you repeat it one more time, please?
Monroe is projected to grow dramatically over the next 10 years. Where do you think new housing, businesses, industry, et cetera, should go in the city?
The boundaries of the city are fixed. We might bring in some pieces and parcels into the city, but as we're set, as our code is set, we have multifamily housing set in certain places. We have certain areas for our larger businesses. We have the industrial park that's set right on 78, closer to Athens, to give better access to the community. And then houses, as Chad Draper, who used to be very vital in infill development in Monroe, really took a major step toward that, was upgrading the low income, the low dilapidated structures that are here. By doing that, we will encourage better growth, more higher incomes, and then people that will represent us well in the business community, which will encourage a grocery store to come here. Thank you.
Okay, well, I would like to, I've heard out talking with people as I've been campaigning and talking with all the community, that we would really like to see some of our buildings that have been left abandoned repurposed into housing for our younger set of people who in the 20s and 30-year-old range that want to live and work here. I'm a real estate agent. I see a lot of people that work in Monroe, these young kids, they don't want to live at home with their parents and they move to Athens. And we'd like to keep them here with some really neat opportunities by repurposing some of the buildings that we do have currently vacant. Sorry, Carrie, that distracted me. So, as part of the rest of the question,
New housing, businesses, industry, et cetera, where should it go in the city?
And again, as far as industry in the city, bringing in and repurposing our buildings that we currently have. We have a lot of vacant properties in this town, and I would like to see those utilized and repurposed before we start rebuilding. But the things that we can rebuild right now are some of the dilapidated housing and get people interested in it. Thank you very much.
Our city has a zoning plan, and it was put together by mayor and council a long time ago. We do have times that we rezone different parts of the city, but the plan for the city is already in place. So we have an industrial park for our commercial businesses to come in. We have a downtown corridor, and we have residential. We have residential that can be apartment buildings, and we have residential for single-family houses. So the plan for the city is pretty much already set. You can change it if you come before the council for a rezone. So we have a city map that's got all the zonings on it. So that's basically where you'll put a house or you'll put a business. You just can't put it anywhere. It's already set and zoned. Thank you.
One of my main goals by being elected to the council is to bring more leadership to this council and working with the current plans that are in place. So for me, I'm a huge advocate of infill developments, repurposing buildings, as Sandra and John both pointed out. Making sure that we have a mixed-use development area here in downtown, areas with retail and restaurants, as well as whether it be loft living or townhomes. Some of the things that the families are looking for nowadays. I do like the idea of leaving big industry on the outside of town, which is why I think we have the business parks already set up. Doing everything we can to make this a destination center for people to live and to grow and to do life together. So, thank you.
I would like to see more single-family housing in this area. We have a lot of apartment complexes, low-income housing, which is great, but we also need more single-family homes. We cannot expect any other businesses, restaurants, or any grocery store to come here unless we are able to show that we are a viable community and we have homeowners in this town. I would also like to keep the downtown feel the way it is, small, hometown. And I would like to see more of the bigger businesses go on the outside of town on Highway 78.
Like Mayor Thompson said, we already have the zoning plan in place. What we're missing is we're not getting the growth that we need that corresponds with that map. Back when I was mayor, I think I was kind of the king of annexation. And one of the things I tried to do was bring in some of these vacant areas on the outskirts of town to use them for industry and for your big box kinds of retailers. That industrial park out there on 78 was annexed in when I was mayor. Every business out there, I think except one, came in while I was mayor. So we've got to have an emphasis on bringing in more industry, because you cannot run the kind of city we want off of a purely residential rooftop tax base. And 63% of every dollar this city takes in its general fund comes off of property taxes. In terms of housing, I'll just be real blunt about it. The one thing that Monroe's missing is middle-class housing. We're becoming a city of haves and have-nots, and a lot of our middle class has moved out. We need to provide the housing for those folks to come back into the city. That will bring things like that grocery store.
Thank you. You know, we've got a theme, live, work, and play, and we're getting a lot of new businesses downtown. We can have the big box stores. We've talked about we want Target, we want Kroger. We can do that. Monroe has always been known for the infrastructure, having a community where you've got all the utilities on one bill. I mean, where can you go in the state or anywhere and have water, gas, sewage, internet, telephone, cable TV all together? and we're making plans to keep it that way at affordable price for the taxpayer and property owners. And we're working hard every day trying to accomplish this. And we want to make the right decisions when we bring industry in and housing in based on, you know, what is the right direction to go in. So, thank you.
The next question will be answered first by Ms. Sherling. Have you ever served in any capacity of government? Why have you chosen to seek election for public office?
The only capacity that I have served in is being elected by our city into different positions. I was elected by our city and appointed by our city, into the library board position, as well as have been appointed by the county into a county serving position on that same board. I've always talked about running for a council seat, but I worked for Delta Airlines, and it was not conducive to a flight attendant schedule to actually run for council. So then I talked a lot with another current, or was council member here, about wanting to run, and it just wasn't the right time. My kids were small. I've given of myself freely and my time freely to this community on all capacities and boards and serving, and it just became the right time. My children are of the right age now, and it was the right time to go ahead and run and help try to make a difference in this community. So no, I have not served before, but I am looking forward to serving now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I have been elected. I've been through 5 election cycles in the city of Monroe. I've won all 5 of them. I've been through 3 election cycles at the Municipal Electric Authority of Georgia, and I've won all 3 of those. It's hard work to get folks convinced to vote for you, to convince them that you can do the job. But I've proven over the last 18 years that I can do the job here in the city of Monroe. So it's not a fun thing to do, but it is a fun thing to do. Meeting people and talking about the city is a great thing to do. The legwork of trying to get around to everybody's houses, or that's exercise. That's trying to run a business and the city is difficult. So it's a bittersweet thing. But I kind of enjoy the election cycle because I do get to get out and meet folks and reacquaint with other folks. But I hate to walk around the city most of the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, I thought you were doing the mayor first. Sorry about that. There you go.
I have never ran or worked for a city government, but it is something that has always intrigued me, something I'm extremely excited about. We had a great city councilman for District 3, and I'm looking forward to hopefully filling his seat and carrying on some of the good things that he had accomplished here in the city. There's something about the challenge. There's something about working with the people and for the people that I really enjoy. It's one of the reasons why I got into the restaurant business and stayed in the restaurant business. I know that the leadership qualities I've developed over time are something that I can really utilize here at the city council level. So that would be my main reason for seeking this seat, trying to do a little good.
I have never worked in government, but I've volunteered a lot at the state capitol. I've worked with a lot of elected officials, and I was recently endorsed by Michael Thurman, who I've actually worked with and for in the past. So I look forward to bringing some of my for-profit and nonprofit experience to the council.
Well, like I said earlier, the reason I decided to get back into this is I love this community, and I believe that when a community's been good to you, you have an obligation to work for that community. And I've been out of politics for several years. During that period of time, I didn't just disappear. I served on numerous boards with the city and with organizations in the community. I was on the Historic Preservation Committee. I was on the Downtown Development Authority, worked with the Boys and Girls Club, with Hope Monroe, which is a housing initiative here. And I just believe that it's time to get back into government and serve this community that I love.
Thank you. I love helping people, talking to people. 12 years ago, I was asked by a council person, why don't you run for city council? I said, I don't want to get in politics. He said, well, you were born here, you were raised here, you're going to retire here, why don't you get involved? And I said, well, I'll try it and see what happens. If the people want me, they'll elect me. And I got elected. The guy that I ran against had been on the council 18 years, and I won. Second term around, he ran against me, I won again. So I've been on the council 12 years, excuse me. And I love helping people. I did that with Winn-Dixie, customer service. You don't do this job for the money. You do it for the service, helping people. I mean, when I've been knocking on houses this last month, several weeks, you know, the hardest part is you want to sit there and talk to people and listen. And that's what I love to do, sitting and listening and see what I can do to help people. Thank you.
The next question will be answered first by Greg Thompson.
You're going to skip me?
Oh, sorry.
She knows I tend to get a little long-winded. I've had several candidates say a lot of the things that I have written down, although my penmanship is very, very poor. David opened with, why do we do this? To make the world a better place. Right there in the middle. Jimmy said, why do we do this? To serve others. To serve the people we love. The reasons we're here and the reason we grew up here is because our parents love this place. We love it and we want our children to love it as we grow. The other part is I was on Kings Ridge last week knocking on doors. I had about 2.5 hours to see 14 different houses, and I made it to 2. After 2.5 hours with Russell and Marlene Gray, we had a nice chat, and I went to pick up my daughter at gymnastics. So I was one of 37 people to interview for the job at Lakewood Ranch as the community manager down there. Got that job, apparently did well. I lasted 6.5 years, moved back here because we wanted my daughters close to their grandparents. Julie's from Conyers, so the granddaughters are definitely closer to them too. Next Boys and Girls Club was on that board for 7.5 years at Rockdale County at Barksdale. And now why am I here? Because I want to serve you. My door is always open. Spend a lot of time at Chick-fil-A, Cotton Cafe. Anytime you want to come see me, you can find me at one of our local restaurants or establishments. That's why this suit doesn't fit so well. Glad you're okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, okay.
Okay, the next question will start with Greg Thompson. Are you knowledgeable of the different funding sources that are available to communities that are in need of neighborhood revitalization, economic development, and affordable housing development? If yes, provide an example, and if elected, will you pursue these funds to address needs in the city of Monroe?
Okay. Yes, I am knowledgeable about different funds that we can get outside of the city of Monroe to help grow our city. As I said, from 2014 up till 2017, we've gotten about $10 million worth of federal and state money to help revitalize our lower income neighborhoods through sewer and water, and some of our water lines and sewer lines are about 100 years old. So that takes money out of the tax, puts money back into the taxpayers' pockets, and we get it from the state and federal. We're always looking for money. We're always looking for grants. We actually have a grant writer that we hire, and when we go to classes, we learn how other cities get money through their cities. So we're always looking for money so we don't have to tap into the taxpayers here. Thank you very much.
I am not 100% knowledgeable of all of the opportunities that we have as a city to utilize different funds that come from outside of our local tax base. I know that as a restaurant owner and someone looking to put a restaurant here in downtown, we had an opportunity to partner with 2 different foundations and organizations to get into the revolving loan fund. It's a great program, something that we were able to benefit from. I look forward to learning about different opportunities that we'll have at the city to maybe reach outside of the tax base and find some incentives for not only businesses to come here, but also for us to put money back into our small town to help develop infrastructure, whatever it may be. So, thank you.
Being in the nonprofit sector, I come across a lot of people that have grant writing experience and different funds available for cities to revitalize. So therefore, yes, I do have experience with working with others, and I've also worked on legislation with the state of Georgia as far as transportation, and I would like to reach out to some of my resources in order to bring that funding here to Monroe for some local transit.
The short answer is yes. The long answer is frankly, there's not a lot of straight up grant money available for the kinds of things that the question was oriented toward. So what you have to do is you have to be very creative in how you approach things like housing initiatives. What Mayor Thompson was talking about is a community development block grant. Those grants are infrastructure grants that go in the ground. That's great, but you can't use them to build houses or rehabilitate houses. I'm married to a grant writer. Rita was the grant writer for the Walton County school system. So a lot of her knowledge is filtered over onto me. There are things out there we can do, but we've got to be creative. We've got to use things like community land trust, tax allocation districts, and be creative. The other thing the city of Monroe can do is we have tremendous bonding capacity. In the city of Monroe, we have a total capacity of about $38 million, and about $36 million of that's unused right now. So that's another good way to generate those much needed funds.
Thank you. I just want to, reemphasize what Mayor Thompson just mentioned about what we're doing for grant money, funds. I mean, we've got an aggressive program going on for grant funding for streetscapes, sidewalks. We've got a sidewalk project right now on West Spring Street that we're putting in place. I'm chairman of the Public Safety Committee. We just got a huge grant over here in the fire department to add new firemen at no cost to the taxpayers. I mean, that's important. We've rolled back taxes for the past 4 years in this city, so we didn't have to raise taxes, especially when we were coming out of the recession. So, I mean, that says a lot on what we're doing with grant money. We've added more infrastructure at the airport. Recently, we just put in a fuel farm to bring more business, airplanes. Rodney Etheridge, standing back here in the back, he's on the airport committee. He was a big part of that. Thank you, Rodney. So, we're looking at all the grants, funding, everything we can to keep from having to raise taxes, to keep the infrastructure in this city in good shape. Thank you.
Next, get me again on. Melissa and I have been friends forever, so she knows to put up with me a little bit. Yes, I do know about tax allocation districts, the community development districts, which I refer a lot to Lakewood Ranch. It's a long part of my life. Is going through that bond process, we had 3 specific community development districts, which are special tax allocation districts, collected by the taxing authority. Now, we also have grants that we've used, for instance, the sidewalks on South Broad. North Broad, I believe, is coming before Spring Street, correct?
Yes.
Please don't count that time, Kerry. And Rodney, I know him pretty well, too. He outpunted his coverage as much as I did. We married sisters. So learning from him as well, the types of money that we can have brought in through taxes can really help build our airport, which is another vital economic development tool for our area. So when it comes to things like taxes, you have to learn that if you pay $5,000 in property taxes when it's collected in November and December, 1,000 goes to the city, 1,000 goes to the county, and 3,000 goes to the school board. So we need to work together in how we use those tax dollars that are collected in special means. And I appreciate you letting me run over just a little bit. I'm sorry.
Now you're forgetting me.
But this is Sandra. She's a friend. She understands.
I am familiar with a few of the types of grants. I'm very familiar with the Downtown Development Revolving Loan Fund. I'm not mistaken, but I think I was one of the first ones that came to the city of Monroe, worked with Greg and David on that one. It's a 10-year grant. It's a 10-year Downtown Development Revolving Loan. It's a special loan through the state. So I am familiar with that one, as well as all the grant writing that we do for the library. Again, we just doubled the size under our existing roof. We doubled the size of the library. We did that with a state grant. So the things that I've learned about these is the Downtown Development Revolving Loan, you've got to have a lot of patience. So anytime you're working through funding from another organization to help your own community, patience is essential, as well as you have to learn a lot and you have to be willing to learn a lot. I tell the kids all the time when I'm out in the schools working with them, there's always an opportunity. If you look hard enough, you'll find an opportunity, you'll find a way. And that's the same with grant writing and Downtown Development Revolving Loans and getting funding from other organizations to help our community. You don't give up and you learn a lot. Thank you. We're back to you.
The next question will begin with Ross Bradley. There is a lack of recreational activities for our youth year-round. Other than the activities provided by the County Parks and Rec Department, there is a gap in activities for our youth, especially after age 12. How will you address bringing more activities and possible staff on board to address this issue?
Thank you. Recreational activity, that's a big hot button issue in the city of Monroe. Working with kids on a weekly, monthly basis at the Boys and Girls Club, I understand the need. Having younger siblings, I too understand that, they need something to do on the Friday nights and Saturdays. I know that as in Covington, there is a young man who is working on his Eagle project, who's talked a lot about a splash pad. That is his project, raising money to get that done in Covington. I think that is also something that we could do here in the city. Also, different community activities, basketball tournaments, all that good stuff that we already have the infrastructure in place for now. But for me, I would love to work with the economic development to continue to try and get things like movie theaters and other attractions here to Monroe. A, to give the parents a break, but B, to also give kids opportunity to go out and to let off some steam. So, thank you.
Yes, we do have a lack of recreation for our kids. A lot of them are just walking up and down the street. They have nothing to do, and they don't have transportation to get to different places. So, yes, I would like to see more recreation come to this area. I've thought about it a lot. I've done a lot for the children as far as taking them out of town to other places, as Athens, to the botanical gardens and different things like that. We do have some great parks here, but we also need to expand on that. We do need theaters, bowling alleys, and different things like that where the kids can have better recreation, more sidewalks where they can walk to things as well.
It's not an easy thing to do. I think we're doing fairly well in terms of the organized recreational activities. The city long ago partnered with the county to provide those opportunities for kids, and we got a lot of good programs out there. I think what we're missing now is the other component some folks have talked about, which is private enterprise things for children to go to, the theaters, the bowling alleys, those kinds of things. And I think that needs to be the next emphasis, is to very specifically target those kind of businesses and bring them in. And as Adrian said, we have to make sure that we have a city where it's safe, where kids can walk to these places and be secure.
Growing up in Monroe, I was involved in sports. We had Walton County sports, we had recreation, we had high school, junior high, and I raised kids in this town, and they were involved in sports. But, it all starts in the home. with the parents, getting parents involved. I talk to high school teachers, I talk to coaches, and the parents have got to get involved. I hear it every day out there campaigning. The parents drop their kids off and expect the coaches to babysit them. I talk to high school teachers. They have conferences and the parents don't show up. Growing up in this town, we've had theaters, we've had bowling alleys, we've had all different types of recreation, and it's got to be a private enterprise. It's not something the city can do. It's got to come from the private citizen. I'd love to see someone out here in the audience, if you want to start a bowling alley or a movie theater, the city will support you. I'm behind you 100%. So thank you.
Thank you for that question. Partnerships are really vital to the success of our community. Grace Church at the Mill is very, very active in building community, and just to give you a little knowledge up front, they've chosen to purchase the old Monroe Elementary School. As you know, that has a large field behind it. They're looking at building that into an amphitheater, and it will be a community project. They'll use it for community events. So it's a public-private entity that is working with those in the community, and I think that we should encourage a focus on items like that rather than expecting the city to be 100% responsible for recreational activities. We have a great Parks and Rec program that the county runs for us on some of the fields that are here. We have lots of tournaments. We have lots of Little League. When I was here, it was the Monroe Packers. Now we have multiple teams throughout the county. So I would encourage somebody to take a page out of Brian and Sadie Crossick's playbook and give back to our community for additional recreational activities. Thank you.
Revitalizing our parks is a big issue, and it is on my push card. Those of you who've talked to me, it's very, very dear to my heart. We have lovely parks here that are city-owned. We've got Childress Park, we have Matthews Park. We need to see those parks encouraged and revitalized and bring new activities to those parks. And again, it's not just the responsibility of the city. Out talking with people today, there's a group that does the frisbee golf. And they have started a project out at Matthews Park. And they just want a little help bringing that as a bigger sport. So I see things as pickleball, things that we can already put over in Hammond Park on those tennis courts, things that are recreation for families to come do together. But again, it's not just on the burden of the city, it's a community thing as well. We need to support our parks, use our parks, want to see our parks be pretty. When you pull into a city and you see a beautiful park as you're pulling into the city, that's the city that you remember. And I really want to see us go back to that and be remembered for our beautiful parks. Thank you.
I think David hit it on the head exactly. We do combine with the county our recreation. We actually had this problem when David was mayor, and we talked about it several times, trying to get private industry in to build the bowling alley and the skating rinks and just stuff for youth to have to keep them off the street. It's so important to me and this council that we actually created an economic development position that Sadie Crossick heads up now, and she's always out trying to recruit these businesses to come in. But until we get those residential developments, like I talked about, it's going to be coming in the next 2 to 3 years, building those $200,000 to $300,000 houses, businesses are not going to come in because they don't know if they're going to get their investments back. This town's fixing to take off in the next 2 to 3 years. Like I said, we're 9 years behind the time, but now you're fixing to see the stuff that we worked for 9 years ago come to fruition.
Our next question will be answered first by Adrian Brown, and the question is, what is your position on our public safety and fire department's effectiveness in our community, and what changes do you plan to propose, if any?
Okay, my position on public safety. We've had a lot of crime that has come into our community lately, and a lot of it has been coming from the outside. A majority of this crime has not been inside Monroe, from Monroe residents. Some has, but some has not. And so what I've proposed, even just working in the community, is more community policing. We used to have neighborhood watches. We had someone that actually sat there that was a champion for the community, that actually looked out for everyone, and we definitely need to get back to community in our neighborhoods and policing our own neighborhoods, and not just leave all of the responsibility on our police force.
Again, there's no simple solution for it, but let me say this about public safety. In terms of the fire department, we've got one of the best you can find anywhere. We have an excellent rating. We have no problems with that at all. In terms of policing, I agree with Adrian. One of the things we need to do is we need to focus on these quality of life issues and have officers out in these neighborhoods on foot a lot, not just in cars, and interacting with people. But the bottom line is this: a lot of criminal conduct you're never going to police away. I tell you that as a lawyer. I tell you that as an ex-judge. We've got to work with folks to instill values all across the board. And a lot of this does start in the home. And just setting up a police force to go do something about it after it's already gotten out of control, that's not the solution. We got to do some other things with these young people before they ever get into that kind of thing.
Thank you, David. Being on the Public Safety Committee and being public chairman, we try to stay ahead of the curve. We implemented body cameras with all the publicity that we've seen with police officers. The body cameras protects the citizens and it protects the police officers, and we've done that. We're trying to stay ahead. And, you know, as Adrian mentioned, most of the crime is coming into the city. They think Monroe is an easy town, but we proved them wrong with the recent drug bust. You'll never solve the drug issue, but we've slowed it down a good bit. And fire department, we've got the best fire department anywhere, I think. And we continue working with the fire department with hiring new firemen through the grants at no cost to the taxpayers. So we'll continue, but it's got to start in the neighborhood. I mean, you got to have neighborhood watches. I know in my neighborhood, if I'm out of town, my neighbors are watching my house. They're calling 911 if they see something suspicious, because it all starts in your neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you. It goes without saying, because it's been said a number of times, our firefighters here are excellent, and we all appreciate the hard work that they do. Had a meeting last week with our sheriff of Walton County. Found out that we have 367 inmates in the jail. He wants a new jail. I was very anti-new jail. I said, let's just ship them off somewhere, and when it's time for them to get out, let them out. He said, John, no, these folks have not even gone to court yet. So we have 367 inmates in our jail. You know how many Oconee County has? 8. We have a real issue with our low-income housing. We've got to clean that up. We also have to have our community policing is an outstanding idea. James Vaughn and I were talking last week as well. James is very active in the community. He's always been active with our public school kids. And he's also active at Loganville Christian Academy and George Walton Academy as well. But he said, John, if you can't build their trust by playing with them, play a game of basketball, play a game of kickball, play a game of baseball, they're not going to trust you when they need you in a really time of need. They want to trust you on a day-to-day basis. You become a buddy with them, and then you become a confidant. And that helps us build our community safety. And that's what we need to address. We need that dire need to address that public safety issue on the front end rather than on the back end. Thank you.
Well, excuse me. In terms of our fire department, I have had the misfortune of seeing how quickly they respond to my house when they responded extremely quickly. So along the lines of our fire department, I think that they do a really good job. When it goes back to public safety, I too believe that we need to bring that back to the community. And that also starts with our low-income housing, with working in the schools, with these seniors that are graduating, that are not college material. Not everybody needs to go to college, but getting them into the good jobs. We have over 500 good jobs right here in Monroe. We need, as leaders of this community, to be out encouraging these kids to get into these jobs, to go into these internships, and get them in these decent paying jobs that we have right here locally, to keep them out of trouble, to make them law-abiding, tax-paying citizens that hopefully one day will also be homeowners. So again, I do feel like the focus is on our kids and getting them off the streets and into viable jobs that we already have, as well as being community leaders and letting these kids know that we care about them. Thank you.
I definitely agree with the community aspect of trying to help your neighbors. Unfortunately, some folks just love to get in trouble. It doesn't matter what you do. If I had my wish list, we've got one of the best public safety departments in this state. When I go off to GMA and to the mayor's convention and talk to other cities, we're very fortunate to what we have. And if I had a wish list, I would love to add more police officers to our police department. It's hard to hire a good police officer these days. You see what they have to go through day in and day out, being cursed at and abused. You can't hire the wrong police officer, or else your city's going to be in the news too. And you notice we have not been in the news. We want to keep it that way. So my wish list for our public safety is I wish we could get more officers like we have now to increase the size of our police department. Fire department's doing great.
I think at this point I'll echo a lot of the things that have been said up here. Start with the fire department. We do have a very effective fire department, one of the top around, all great guys and women and men. I think too that raising the quality of life for the city is pretty much step one. It's nothing that anyone sitting up here can fix through a police department, but it does start in the home. It starts with everybody inside of our community getting involved with local organizations that do partner with young kids to help them develop and help them grow in their values and want to be good for the city and want to love it as much as we all do. I think that developing a workforce community is something that will also help. Giving folks something to want to achieve in life. One of our most under-celebrated partners in Monroe is Athens Tech. Getting folks into that program or into that college through the high school system will be something that will be a huge key for us in the future. Thank you.
Our next question will be answered first by David Dickinson. And the question is, what do you think of the Livable Centers Initiative master plan for the city? And if elected, how would you help work to implement it?
That'll be the shortest answer of the night. I like it, I favor it, and I'll do everything I can to see that it goes forward. That's what saves small towns like Monroe. We're past a world where you have a big urban place like Atlanta, then you have suburbs, and then you have areas that are sort of halfway in between. We used to call them exurbs. So now what people are looking for is a community where they do everything within a small area. They don't have to get in their car to go do something. And that's what the Livable Centers Initiative is. And every young person that I talk to that's coming into this community, they're all about that. So we'll keep it going.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier tonight, live, work, and play. You want to live where you can work and play. In downtown, we've got lofts that are full. There's no vacancy. People like to live in downtown. Look at all the new shops that have come in. And that's what we're looking for. A lot of people, are talking about all these big developments. We've got everything you need right here in Monroe. to live, work, and play.
That's the master plan community concept. It's live here, work here, play here. Been doing it for the last 20 years. What we have in Monroe right now, we had a group of people who did not want to bypass years ago, so that continued to push us off. Now we have folks driving to come to Monroe at the story shop that Melvin and Melissa Music had put together with Scoops Ice Cream, with Cotton Cafe, with the Boot Store, with Peachy Keen. People want to come down to Monroe right now, but they get very, very frustrated at our traffic. So if we can get some of the trucks around here to get them out of town, it becomes much more convenient for the people who live here, the people who want to play here, the people who want to work here. That's why I live on Walton Street. I love walking downtown. Now, you've probably seen me walking the Attack Dog, my 8-pound Yorkie Poo. I look very, very manly when I've got him on the leash. But since he's been walking with me, we haven't had any crime on my street. Anyway, again, live here, work here, play here, and I hate to sound like I'm just saying whatever you said, but that's exactly where we need to be.
Well, I have to agree with everybody. Live here, work here, play here is definitely the concept that we want. I think that we've been making great strides towards that concept with our sidewalks being implemented. I would like to see us continue forward with the sidewalk initiatives that we already have the grant money and things in place for. I would like to see traffic ease up a little bit around downtown and make it a more livable, walkable place where you could actually hear the person next to you talking as you walk downtown. But I do think that we're going in the right direction with our livable, workable, sustainable area. I would like to also thank the council members, I see a few sitting out here too, for the best initiative that they've done, in my opinion, is the golf cart initiative and allowing us to ride the golf carts around. I think that's a great step forward in the right direction to this concept of live, work, and play and enjoy your city. It's really neat to ride around on a golf cart and actually you get a new perspective of your town. You see things that you never see when you're walking or when you're driving in a car. And I would encourage any of you who have the opportunity, if you want to come ride with me, come ride with me.
I like the Livable Centers Initiative. It was a program that I put in place along with council. Believe it or not, the first project that we applied for, you had to put your first, second, and third wants in there. We applied for North Broad. Our second one was South Broad. North Broad got turned down because South Broad was $1 million cheaper to do. So when you ride down South Broad, that's kind of what we're looking for with the Livable Centers Initiative. Get folks out of their cars where they can walk. Since that project's been done with all the lighting and everything, first thing I noticed, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, folks are outside walking on those sidewalks because they feel safe. It's a smooth sidewalk, and it served its purpose. So now that's what we're trying to do. The second phase is down Spring Street, and then our third phase will be North Broad Street. And you'll have a city you'll be proud to drive through.
I too would agree that the master plan that the city's put forward is a phenomenal one. I think that, like all plans, it's going to change and evolve and grow. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be a part of facilitating this plan's completion, and I'm just looking forward to learning more about it and to growing with the city and becoming part of the leadership.
I'm excited about the Livable Centers initiative, and the way that I would like to implement it would be to look at some of the abandoned buildings, some of the abandoned warehouses. I've seen where in Athens and other places they've taken these warehouses, turned them into livable spaces, and people are able to walk to and from downtown. I would like to see North Broad be upgraded and paved, sidewalks, street lights before Spring Street, and that's one of the things that I would really fight to get started as soon as possible, simply because that's my district.
Our last question will be answered first by Mr. Richardson. Will you work to secure a full-service grocery store such as Ingles or Kroger to come to Monroe? Why or why not?
Like I mentioned earlier, I worked for Winn-Dixie for 27 years. I started with them when I was 16. I'd love to have a grocery store here. Matter of fact, I just talked to, before I came in the building, I talked to Lee Rowell out at Charlotte Boulevard. He owns the land out there. Kroger is still on the drawing board. It's, you know, he's trying every day to get it going. You know, we need another grocery store. I'm all for it. Whatever we need to do to get one. But when a grocery store comes here, since I worked in a grocery store, I know what it takes. They look at customer count. They look at the ability to service the store with good help. And I mean, I was out campaigning today, and a lady says, I have to drive to Loganville to Kroger, and I'd rather stay here. Well, I'd love for her to pay taxes here in the city. I'd love for that, to have a Kroger here. So I'm all for it, whatever we need to do. You know, if I need to promise we'll have a grocery store in the next year, you know, I can do it. But I'm not in a position where I like to make promises that I can't keep. So I'm all for Kroger, Publix, whatever, big grocery store. But I can't promise that I'm going to produce one. But I'm for it.
Thank you. Yes. Grocery stores look at income and rooftops. They really want to see us, and this is one of the areas we struggled with. We just approved a 130-unit development on 50 acres. I'm sorry, the Planning Commission approved a 130-unit development on 50.2 acres on Good Hope Road. That's been tabled by the council actually until this month or next. But by doing that, the thing that we were torn about was we need those rooftops and we need that money. They came in and told us it was going to start at about $165,000. At the council meeting, they had upped that to $195,000, which makes us all feel better. But you are concerned about the density of the houses, but you also you need to have the rooftops and you need to have the income and you need to have those higher priced homes in order for a grocery store to come. We chose yes because we need the stores that bad. The larger developments, as the mayor had said, are on the way over the next couple of years, and we could not be more delighted. Looking forward to a Publix, Kroger, Aldi's expanding their footprint, and Ingles is on the table as well. Any of them would be great.
Well, I have to agree with everybody. Yes, we do want to see a grocery store. Any of the larger chain grocery stores come into our community. That is also going to take bringing up our income levels. Kroger is on the table still talking, but we do need to show that we have a viable workforce. To bring in any other industry, including a grocery store, we've got to have a lower level of our unemployment. And we've got to get our current people here into our workforce, into the jobs that we currently have. Once we have people into the jobs that are currently here in Monroe, then we'll see the income levels raise. And the grocery stores will see that we do have the clientele to come in and spend money in their store. We don't want our tax dollars going to Barrow County, and we don't want our tax dollars going to the city of Loganville, even though it is still Walton County. But we fix that ground with grassroots by getting people into jobs, having incomes, and making them viable citizens that go to grocery stores and spend their money and showing the grocery store that we have that. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a loaded question, but I'm glad it was asked. Now let's just dispel the rumors right now. I have never, nor will I ever, try to keep a grocery store out of the city of Monroe. As a matter of fact, we voted, when Sofran came to the city, we voted to give them $1 million electric package so they wouldn't have to spend that $1 million. We worked with Kevin and the county to get a tax abatement for Kroger. We passed it, they passed it. Problem is they wanted another $1.5 million that would come out of taxpayers' pockets, and that was too rich. We're still waiting on those houses to get developed We're 2 to 3 years out. I met with another developer that wants to bring the same thing in, and his exact words were, you're 2 to 3 years out before you're going to get that grocery store. We're going to get it, folks. We're going to get it. We're just growing growing slow, but we're getting the right growth now. So that should dispel any rumor out there that I have kept a grocery store from coming in the city of Monroe.
The simple answer is yes. I live right here in town. I shop at the 2 awesome local grocery stores that we have now. I wouldn't mind a third option for some more exotic things. But like Greg was saying, you know, it's going to come. So yes, I am willing to do everything I can to lay the groundwork now with housing, with filling current jobs that we have, in order to make it a little bit more enticing for a big box store to come in.
Yes, I would like to see better options for grocery stores coming to this area. But again, it goes back to what we've talked about before, is that a lot of businesses look at rooftops when they're coming to a town. And when I say rooftops, they're looking at homes, home ownership. They're not looking at apartments, because people in apartments move. So therefore, they want something that's sustainable in order to grow their business. So in order to change that tide, then of course, like Mayor Thompson said, we have to have those homes here. But we also have to be able to train the people that are here to work, to be able to pay for a home. And all of that starts again with quality education. So it's a building block. It goes from education to jobs to home ownership, and then the businesses will come. So I'm looking forward to businesses coming, but we definitely need to work towards a position of making this a town that they want to come to.
Well, I'm getting kind of impatient about the grocery store. To give you a little history, we were talking to Kroger back when I was mayor almost 20 years ago about building an in-town Kroger. And the only reason that didn't happen is the landowner was trying to get too much money for the tract, and it had some potential environmental issues. So here we are, almost 20 years later, and everybody's saying, well, it's coming next year, or 2 years, or 5 years. It's sort of like getting rid of the dilapidated housing. We were having that discussion when I was mayor. And if you look at my literature, there are 2 things I've grown very impatient with. I will bring you that grocery store. And if I don't, if you elect me and I don't bring it, throw me out. That's how it ought to work. But it shouldn't take forever to do it. And the same thing with improving the housing. We don't have another 25 years to wait. We've done some things, but we can do a whole lot more. And it takes somebody that's really going to go get it and push it and not wait for it to come to him or her.
Thank you all for your closing remarks, for your answers. We're now going to have closing remarks, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to give their statement. We're going to go in reverse order from opening statements and begin with candidate Jimmy Richardson.
I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight, and thank the Chamber, Walton County Chamber, for having this event. It's always good to, get up and talk to the public. And, I was born in this town, going to retire here. If the voters want to keep me in this position, I'd love to stay in this position because I love working with people. I love talking to people. I know most of the people in this room. I've met you. I've worked with you. And I'd like to continue working with you. My door is always open. I'm experienced, dedicated. I got an open door policy, and you can call me anytime. I'll come to you. You just let me know what time, when, and where, and I'd love to continue working with you in the future. And I appreciate your support and your vote on Tuesday, November the 7th. Early voting has already started. If you want to vote, you can go over to the Government Center off Hammond Drive. Started today. I think it runs through November 3rd. And the general election will be November the 7th. So I appreciate your support, and thank y'all for coming tonight.
appreciate all of you coming out tonight. One of the problems that we have in this city is, generally speaking, in municipal elections, the turnout's pretty low. And people need to get involved. And if you don't do anything else, please go vote. If you don't vote for me, vote for Jimmy or vote for Lydia. But go vote. Is your God-given right, is your God-given obligation. And I've sort of reached the point in life where, I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I just want to help make this community a better place. And sometimes I guess I can be a little fired up and a little combative about stuff, but that's just my nature. I'm one of those folks, I grew up with nothing, and everything I've got, I worked for and fought for. My daddy had an 8th grade education, and that's why I'm so about education and bettering oneself and fighting for what you believe in. And I've said to a number of people, I'm a runner. I run all distances, but I do a lot of half marathons and marathons. And one of the things you run into when you're running a marathon is you get out there about 22 miles and you're about to die and you just want to give up. I got 2 rules when I'm running and in life. Number 1 rule, you never give up, you never quit. Number 2 rule, you never deviate from rule 1. And if y'all will have the faith in me and let me be your elected representative, I will never quit on you. I will never give up till the day I die. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight, to the Chamber of Commerce and to the citizens of Monroe. When I first decided to run for city council, I spoke with my husband. He's here, Ricardo Brown, he's from Kingston, Jamaica, and I said, I think I want to run for city council, and he was like, okay, well, that's fine if that's what you want to do. You've been working in the community, forever anyway. When I first met you, this is what you were doing. Being on the council would be nothing different from what I do every day, just about. I'm always in the community. I've always been working with others. I've always been helping. Everyone knows me for this. I've done a Stop the Violence event here when someone was murdered. I've done back-to-school campaigns. Again, I go to the Capitol 2 or 3 times a year to see what's going on. I've worked with elected officials. I have the experience, and I think that I can bring some fresh, new ideas to the board. I am asking for your vote and for you to give me a chance in order to show you what we can do in this city working together. I am a member of New Beginnings Bible Church right here in Monroe. Pastor is Nathan Durham, and we do a lot in the community as well. But again, as Jimmy said, early voting started October 16th. Please get out and vote. If you don't want to vote for me, vote for Ross, but please vote for me. And Ross has said he will work with me. So thank you guys so much, and I look forward to serving you.
Thank you all for this opportunity to be up here. Like I said earlier, I'm good at 3 things right now at this point in my life, and that's listening, learning, and doing. I am not the most eloquent when it comes to speaking into a microphone, so I have listened to myself and learned from that tonight. But I am looking forward to the opportunity to be your representative, not only in District 3, but for the city. I'm excited to work with the current council and whoever does win this election cycle. If I can do anything for you, I live right down the street. I'll be happy to post email and phone number tonight. Give me a call. Let's sit down and talk. Thank you.
This room looks like a good Baptist church. Everybody's in the back. It feels from the back forward. But it's crowded, and that's a good thing, because this shows how important this election is. Our city's growing, and we're going to have a lot of things to deal with in the next 4 years. I've got two fine people running against me, but unfortunately they have no experience as being elected and trying to deal with the problems that you deal with from a citizen on this side of town or a citizen on that side of town, and trying to please everyone and trying to make that project fit into the puzzle to take care of most of the people in the city. I served on the city council for 6 years, which gave me the opportunity to learn how to do a lot of this stuff. So when I was elected mayor, we didn't go backwards and then forward during my learning process. It was still a learning process being on the city council and then moving to the mayor, because there's so much responsibility and you're responsible for a lot of things in this city. I appreciate these guys wanting to run, and I hope they continue to be involved in the city, win, lose, or draw. They're fine folks. But I don't think at this time it's time to take that step back when we're fixing to get into a lot of things. And we need to have the knowledge, and we need to have the folks that know how to do this stuff to move our city forward. So I ask for your vote starting now until November the 7th to keep this city moving in the right direction. Thank you very much.
Well, I too would like to thank all of you for being here tonight. And I would most importantly like to thank you for allowing me to have this experience. I am an inherently shy person, so going out and talking to people and asking people that I've never met before for their support has gotten me out of my box, has taught me a lot about myself. It's taught me a lot about this city. I've learned from the people I've spoke with. I want to continue learning from the people and bringing the community back to the people. As Greg said, campaigning's hard, and I, in my opening statement, didn't mention my children and my husband. And campaigning's hard for a candidate, but it's also really hard on the husband and the family, the kids, and I've appreciated their support. I've appreciated the support of this community, how gracious you all have been, allowing me to come into your home, listen to you, hear how you feel about the community, hear the things of the past. I'm not from Monroe. I've been here 15 years, but I've been extremely involved since the day I got here. I want to continue being involved, and like we say in the library industry, I want to serve at the pleasure of the people. If you elect me, I will serve, I will do my best, I will learn, I will grow, and I will be here to listen to the community and bring our government back to the community. I thank you so much again for the opportunity to be here this evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, watching on television or online, they say the camera adds 10 pounds, and I swear they've got 3 cameras on me. So that's why this suit's a little tight. Look, we really appreciate you. We appreciate each other coming up here to serve our community. Win, lose, or draw, we're all going to be working for you. I thank you for coming out tonight. I just want you to know, Ross mentioned that he listens and he acts, and he's proven that. And I listen and I act too. I happened to go into the Lion's Den last week. I had a question coming from Potluck as I was leaving my house, so I pulled in and I sat at the round table, and 3.5 hours later I was sitting with Mickey Langford and Jim Brown and about 7 or 8 other guys, and I made some calls when it was done and went ahead and got some things accomplished. I want the people to move here. When they're coming to Monroe, I want them to move here because we're awesome. I don't want them to move here because it's the only place they can afford. We want people who want to contribute to our city. We want people to contribute to our success. We want people to be active as they help us make this world a better place. We want safety, we want smart growth, and a strong team. Together, everyone achieves more. That's working with the 3 entities that receive your tax dollars, the city, the county, and the school board. I'll work tirelessly for you. I'll work tirelessly because my family lives here, and if we're not a success, I'm not a success. I need every one of you, and I appreciate your prayers, and I would appreciate your vote. My name is John Howard. I'm running for mayor, and thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Thank you to all the candidates for participating tonight, and the Chamber wants to thank everybody that came and attended tonight's forum. We hope it was informative. Don't forget to vote. Vote early or on November 7th. Thank you.
Good job.
I have to tell you,